listen up. Y'all, it's the queen of automation, Megan Donnelly, here to give you inspiration. Founders and business owners gather round. I'ma show you how to build systems that'll astound. Streamline your processes, no need for complication.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Queen of Automation, where we talk about why technology is only good when it works and how we help you make it work. Today I'm super excited to be speaking to Kendra Pennington. And she is near and dear to my heart because she's a mom of two. And she has this fantastic community that I've been hearing about for a while. And I can't wait for her to jump in and tell you all about it. She's the CEO and founder of Beyond the Ninth. And it is a community for working moms, which is obviously we're both working moms. Anyway, before I go any further, I want you to introduce yourself because you can probably intro yourself much better than I can, and tell everybody where you're tuning in from and all about Beyond the Ninth, please.
Sure. So, hi, everybody. I'm Kendra Pennington. I'm the founder of Beyond the Ninth. It's a community for working moms. I was not always a community builder. I'm actually a marketing consultant by trade. I've been in the marketing space for about 14 years. I live in San Diego with my husband and my two children, and I have two stepchildren who are amazing and two dogs, and life is absolutely crazy. Beyond the Ninth was actually started after a pretty pivotal conversation that I had with a woman from LinkedIn. You know, if you're active on LinkedIn, you have all kinds of networking conversations and you just hop on the phone with people. You don't really know what the conversation is going to be about. Sometimes it's the most awkward 30 minutes of your life. And other times it's amazing. We've all been there, right? Anyway, I had this amazing conversation with another working mom. She was struggling. She was trying to breastfeed, trying to pump, trying to deal with crazy international hours. And we just had this like heart to heart conversation. And I thought to myself, this needs to be a resource. This needs to be a community for moms where they can go and they can feel like they're safe and they're supported and that they can just kind of like unload all of the things that we have that we're carrying around with us all day long. And, you know, I had some pretty crazy moments myself as a working mom in my career, you know, from being laid off with a 5-month-old baby to dealing with really weird questions during interview processes, to dealing with toxic female managers who are not able to understand that you sometimes just need a little break and that you need a little bit of grace. So the community is amazing. It's a beautiful place for moms just to come and meet new women that are going through the same things that they're going through and just kind of have it be a safe harbor for all of the things that we're going through.
I think it's amazing because, and it's not, you know, kudos to you, all you single dads out there, you know, good job, whatever. But unless you are truly a mom of even one child, but I would say multiples. Once you hit 2, once you hit 3, I mean, forget it. Your life is no longer your own. And once we hit child 3 and then child number 4 came along, it was like, we're just going to go with it. You know, like what else are you going to do? And but the trials and tribulations of being a working mom and having a career, I mean, it's no joke. It is a different world for us. It really is. And it's not to discount that it's harder than other people, but it really kind of is because you get stereotyped. And I knew exactly, I had it in my mind as soon as you said like the weird interview questions. I went, oh yeah, because they want to know or make sure you're not going to leave on maternity leave. They can't ask those questions legally, but they figure out a way to ask them anyway. And it's super awkward and not okay. It's just not okay. This day and age, it's not okay. And I feel like it's still there and people take advantage. I don't know. I'm having a hard time expressing words right now, but when I was in corporate, I had some pretty toxic experiences. So having a community like this is pretty amazing because it's happening all over the place and it happens more frequently than people realize, I think. I don't think people realize like that it happens frequently as it does. The weirdness, the awkwardness, the toxic management, the expectations. We're not asking for special treatment. At least I wasn't. Like I was never asking for you to treat me special, but if my kid's school calls me and says, there's a problem, I've got to go. And I have to go. Like, that's just it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it, right? Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the reality is that in some cases we are asking for special treatment and that we should get special treatment for certain situations, especially if we're doing a good job, and that we shouldn't have to feel bad about asking for special treatment or a modified schedule or, to be able to set actual work time boundaries, to be able to leave at 2 p.m. in the afternoon to go pick up our kids from school and then come back and finish up our day. These are all reasonable things that if
Yeah.
you have an employee who's doing their job and who is contributing to your company, then you should show them grace and be able to give them those things. The other thing too is that like things change. I think some of these questions that are asked or some of these expectations that are put upon working parents are with the understanding that things should stay exactly the same. But the problem is that, as you said, when you have one child, then you add two children to the mix. First, they're going to daycare, then they're going to school. Schedules change, things change, health changes, expenses change. All of these things change all the time. And I think the problem is that a lot of employers hire somebody expecting that things are going to stay the same, and they don't stay the same. And so women especially get very nervous about asking for things, right? Because we're worried that our job is going to be in jeopardy or that we're going to be judged or that our employers are going to hold something against us. And so I think that it's really about just trying as hard as we can to educate leaders and educate employers that this is the living experience of a working mother, and she will have to ask for certain things and her life will change as her children get older. Just because you're back from maternity leave doesn't mean that things are back to the way that they were before you went on maternity leave. So I really think it's just kind of about changing that narrative and, helping women feel empowered to ask for what they need. And also educating employers on the fact that we can still be contributing employees, even if we do need special circumstances sometimes.
Exactly. So this is a perfect lead in. So I ask every single one of my guests this question, and I can't wait to hear your take on it. I have a feeling I know what it's going to be, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So we always talk about work life balance, and I always tell everyone I don't believe in work life balance in the sense that it's all one life. We have one life, right? Work and personal, it's all you can't. It's not really separated when you think about it. And as an entrepreneur myself, I no longer have business goals in the sense of standard business goals. I have life goals. Like, this is what I want to accomplish for my life. These are the things I need to do to get there. And there's a mixture of personal and business in those goals and those tasks to get me to that life goal, right? And I feel like this work life balance thing has been out there for so long, and people think about it in different ways, but at the end of the day, it's all life, and we shouldn't feel bad for having a personal part of our life, and we shouldn't feel bad for prioritizing our personal family over work. And so I feel like some of that stuff is it's it's kind of ridiculous that it's still like that. It's kind of ridiculous that we're still talking about this right now in 2024, almost 2025. We're still talking about the fact that how do we balance work and life? How is this still an issue? This is what I don't understand. Like, why are working moms not allowed to have a laptop and work from home when they need to? Why is that even still something that you should have to ask permission for? I feel like some of this stuff is so ridiculous this day and age, and with technology and the way that we can handle our lives and handle our careers, it's almost a moot point, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that there is the misconception on the part of the employers that if you are home or if you have children home or if you need a modified schedule or you need to go pick up your kids, that you're not actually doing the job. But I think that it's important to say if the job is getting done, then all of the rest doesn't matter. We're not children, we're adults. We are able to manage multiple things at a time. For me, I can't work and have my children at home. It would be chaos. And so they go to daycare, but I work from home and I leave my house at 2:45 every single day to go and pick up my son from school. And everyone needs to understand that. I don't work for a corporate environment anymore, but if I did, I would hope that I would be given that grace to go and do an hour of kid pickup in the middle of the afternoon if my job was done. So I think that that's the problem, is there's this misconception that everybody needs to be in front of their computer for 8 consecutive hours a day with the little green Slack dot on in order to do their job. And like that is just complete bullshit. Like, I'm sorry to say that. I don't know if we can say that word on your podcast, but it is complete bullshit. That is the old way of doing things when people were not in this kind of day and age where you can actually access your work from all of your devices and you can do your work from anywhere at any time. And so this whole this 8-hour rigid structure is just, it's kind of bullshit for everybody, not just for working parents. It's bullshit for everybody. And I think that the more that employers are able to adapt to that way of thinking and just, what is my job? Is my job getting done? And am I doing an amazing job at it? Am I showing up for meetings? Am I showing up and getting my stuff done on time? If so, I mean, listen, I can get way more done in 4 hours of time. The next 4 hours, my brain is mush. I'm just a super efficient person. And I think those are the kinds of things that employers are going to benefit from if they can learn to be flexible.
I completely agree. Like, there's a reason. So for me, it's the Pomodoro method, right? I do 25-minute sprints and then I take a 5 or 10-minute break. And depending on the types of tasks that I'm working on, right? Like, I'll do 25-minute sprints or 45-minute sprints and then take, a 10 or 15-minute break and then come back and do it again and then do it again and then just repeat it 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And it's, there's a reason that those types of methods work for people, because they actually do work. Your brain is not conducive to sitting for, like you said, 8 to 10 hours. You're going to get less operations out of somebody when they're sitting for 8 to 10 hours straight and just not moving and sitting in front of their screen. They're going to be less productive. Your brain needs a break. Yeah. And it's one of those things where this spins it right into the operations of an organization, big, small, or otherwise. When I talk about systems and operations and automation and all of this stuff, specifically systems doesn't mean software. Systems means people too, right? Like, with your organization, the people that work for you are part of your system. And in fact, the people are way more important than your software, because people are emotional human beings, right? We're emotions. We are actually people. We're not resources. Stop, for the love of God, calling us resources. I hate that. Like, they're not resources. They're people. They're humans with emotions. Treat them like humans. And I think so many corporations, going back to everything that you said, I think so many large corporations treat us as resources, right? We're a line item in a P&L. We're a line item in the grand scheme of things. And that is the wrong way to look at a human relationship, someone that's working for you, someone that's on your team, whether you have 5 employees or 500 employees. That was always the thing with corporate that got me. It was like, your people were just resources, and it used to drive me crazy. And then women were even, women mothers. I shouldn't just say women, but mothers. It was even worse. Not only were you considered a resource, but you were considered an expendable resource. And I learned very quickly in my early tech career that everyone's expendable. And so I don't know about you, but I learned that lesson really, really early on. Not that I was laid off in my 20s or anything, but I could have been. I mean, I saw people go, in corporate, you see people go all the time for little to no, there's no just cause, right? Like, I don't know, Wisconsin, that's where I am. We have, we're a no fault state as far as employers. So just cause is anything. They can fire you for anything. So it's been a really strange, it's been just a really strange journey in my career working for a state where at any time, at any moment, someone can look at you and go, you don't have a job anymore, and there's no cause for it. And I feel like that happens a lot. I don't know if you talk about that a lot in your community, but I feel like just cause is a huge thing when it comes to working moms, because they can't fire you for being a mom. They can't fire you for having a baby. They can't, but they have ways of getting around it. Have you experienced that? Have you seen that happen a lot?
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. And I think that women think that HR as the HR people, the HR department, we think that they're on our side when in actuality, HR is there to protect the company. And so they have all of these, like you said, ways to kind of get around those things. And I mean, I get multiple messages a week of women who are saying, I just got laid off, I'm pregnant, or I just came back from mat leave and I got fired, and I think there's multiple different shades of the spectrum, right? Like yes, there are some things that are blatantly illegal, but then you have to decide if as a mother and a parent, if you want to actually go through the legal system. I am an attorney. I worked in litigation for a few years, many moons ago, but the litigation process is broken. It actually re-victimizes people. So people ask me a lot of the time, should I sue? Should I sue? And I'm like, I don't know. Do you want the next 2 years of your life to be
Right.
wrapped up in the legal system? And do you want to go through that stress? Right. And employers know that. And so, a lot of times they kind of are willing to like roll the dice that they won't actually be punished for their wrongdoing. And then, of course, there's the gray area of whether there was actual discrimination or not discrimination. And,
Right.
what does that actually mean? And then other times they just find ways to get around it, right? They wait long enough for somebody to be back from mat leave before they actually let them go. Like there's all these ways to just kind of skirt around the law. But unfortunately, the trauma still remains when you go through something like that. HR is not your friend.
No,
And yeah, so I mean, unfortunately, this still just happens all the time. And that's why I tell mothers, you need to watch out for yourself. You need to do what's in your best interest. If that means holding on to a job that you hate and interviewing and finding something else that you love, do that. If that means that you're so burned out, you need to quit now. Quit now. Like, don't think about your employer. They will not be thinking about you if the situation was reversed. So do what works best, or, do what's in your best interest and the best interest of your family. And that's different for everybody.
the shitty part is that so many people still have that belief that if you're working for an organization or a larger organization that you're safe, right? Like there's this false sense of security working for a big company. You could get fired, you could get laid off, there's so many things that could happen, just as if you were running your own business, right? There's no certainty just because, unless you're the owner,
Right.
right? Unless you're the CEO and you're the owner and founder of that company, there's no guarantees, and even that isn't a guarantee. You know that as a business owner, like tomorrow everything could blow up, and we could lose the business, and that's why there's all these talks about like, what would you do if you were starting over? But anyway, like people think they've got this false sense of security, and I feel like HR is one of those for sure. It was a trigger source for me because there was no one to talk to. I had a really bad manager, actually not my manager, but her boss. So my whatever boss's boss, and it was so awful. Like it was so up. I can't even. It was one of these angry guys that would get close enough to you that like if he was angry, you could like feel him spitting on your face. Like it was really
Gross.
toxic and horrible. And so many people complained to HR about him. Still there, and somebody actually went had to go over HR's head and went to the state of Wisconsin. So I don't know if you've ever had that happen before, but like there's HR is not your friend. And if you're in this situation, there are resources outside, but you have to take it outside of the company. But it's
Yeah.
still, like you just said, how much time and money do you want to spend exhausting? Like, is it worth 2, 3, 4, or 5 miserable years of your life going after one miserable human being? And it's kind of like,
Yeah.
nope. At least for my opinion, I would be like, no, it's not worth it. Why would I waste my life on somebody who clearly is a miserable person?
Yeah.
So tell me about okay. So I want to dive more into the community and kind of behind the scenes of the community, because that's what we like to talk about. We like to get geeky with people and learn all about um, how they're running the show, right? How you're running your operations. So is it just you? Do you have a small team of people, like a community manager or anything like that? How's the org set up? Do you mind me asking that question?
Yeah, so I have a small team of people that helps me behind the scenes, really just with kind of some of the like execution of the ongoing tasks that need to be done to keep the community running. So yeah, it's a small team of us that are keeping the community going.
Nice. So like helping you post content and stuff like that, and community managers talking to people, are we talking like admin stuff even behind the scenes, and you're just having conversations with people?
Admin stuff. So I don't have any ghostwriters. I don't have anybody that's posting content for me or anything like that. But it's people who will help me draft the newsletter or make sure that we have a recording for a workshop that we do and kind of like cut up the recording and make sure that that gets posted into the community space. I have people that kind of help me with email automation sequences and kind of like organizing all of that stuff. So really just, I mean, I would say admin plus kind of operational types of tasks. But yeah, the posting within the community all comes directly from me. So unless it's being posted by as an admin, and
Yes.
then, it shows them as the poster. So
Right. That's awesome, because I'm sure you've seen it around. I'm working with Darren and Nat with the brand built community, and man, community management is no joke. Like it is. Everyone kind of thinks it's got this stigma of being easy. Just throw up a community, and then you just talk to people, and you have no. I feel like it's not. It's not said enough that running an effective community, I should say, you could probably run a crappy community really easily, but running a community that's actually worth a damn and that people actually want to join is there's no easy button. I mean, it's a lot of work creating all the content and stuff that's needed. Have you found that? How do you deal with the overwhelm of needing to create so much content to keep everyone engaged, on a regular basis?
for me, it's not really a volume thing, but it's actually making sure that I'm staying plugged into the community as kind of an active voice within there. So, I mean, I don't typically post in the community more than once or twice a week. We send newsletters out on Mondays, and then we typically will host anywhere between 2 and 3 events. So that could include a workshop where I bring in an expert on a particular topic that matters to mothers. It could be kind of like an open forum chat where we pick a topic and kind of, just have that be the subject of the conversation. We do community walkthroughs, we do networking events. So there's usually a handful of things going on each month. But I will say that something that is difficult is kind of keeping the engagement and the vibrancy of the community alive, right? So I'll give you a good example. So I went out of town 2 weeks ago. I was out of town for the entire week. I tried my best to completely unplug, not bring my laptop, pre-post, do scheduled posts on LinkedIn, all of that stuff. And then last week I came back and I was back technically working all week, but I was kind of unburying myself from all of the things that I had kind of let fall. And within that time, the community, it was interesting. Like, even though people didn't physically know that I was gone, I was less active in the community, right? Like commenting less on people's posts and doing less stuff in the community. And it's really interesting how like the engagement kind of starts to fall off. And so then it kind of takes some work to get back in there. And yes, I mean, Darren and Nat are great examples of how much it takes to really be in there and be active with people and be engaging with people, not only within the community, but people outside the community so that you can let them know about the community. So yeah, it's rewarding, but it's also just like you kind of have to always be in there yourself in order to have the community continue to stay active and engaged.
Absolutely. I would say spot on, because I'm watching the engagement, and it's they are expecting, right? You know, and I'm assuming it's very similar with your community, because you're the face of the community and people are joining probably after having conversations with you or other people in the community saying, "Hey, you really need to come check out Kendra in our community, and this is why," you know. And so they're expecting you there, and it's one of those things where people like, unplugging is hard, especially when you have a community of people who are expecting you to show up. And I think one of the smartest things that Darren and Nat did was, because there's two of them, right? So they can kind of go back and forth. While one is gone, the other one's there. But I can't even imagine, like, kudos to you for running it by yourself, because I see how much work goes into what we're doing at the brand build community, and I can't even imagine. I think that is an amazing thing that you're doing, and I know how much work it takes to keep them engaged and the content going and all of the stuff, and coming up with the active ideas for the people and the speakers. And okay, well, we need an event because that'll loop people back in, and it's constantly, it's like this ever going, like, little hamster wheel.
Yeah, it is. And it's interesting how the community responds to different things, right? Like the things that you think are going to be super impactful and kind of get everybody excited fall flat on their face. And then there's other things that you're like, oh, we're just going to try this thing. And you don't really think about it very much. And then it's like, oh my gosh, everybody loved that
Everyone's
thing.
full
We're
of
going to keep
passion.
doing more of that. Yeah. So you kind of have to like be flexible with what the community ends up telling you that they want collectively without really saying the words. You kind of pick up on the vibe of things that are successful and not successful and try and, do more of those things. So
The expectations of what people want, or like what you think they want, and then what they end up wanting, it's like so
yeah.
different. And it's so funny to watch it happen. Do you get that as well, where, like you just said, where you put, like, you're listening to all the conversations, you're watching all the conversations, and you're like, oh, they're gonna love this. Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I had this like thing in my head where I thought I'm going to bring a workshop to the community every single week. It's going to be like a 60-minute workshop
Boy.
where I got all of these experts in a variety of different topics, and we would plan them all out and we would record them. And it was interesting to watch like the numbers they kind of started out strong, and then the numbers kind of started to dwindle down. And it took me a while to kind of realize like we're dealing with the busiest micro niche of people on the planet. We're dealing with working moms who are not even necessarily entrepreneurs or founders. They're actually employed by companies where they have to, as we talked about earlier, they have to be in their seat during certain hours of their day. They can't be watching workshops on how to do meal planning. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it was hard, but I had to kind of realize like, okay, I'm a numbers person. I'm able to look at the numbers of these and the participation levels and realize
Yeah.
like the juice is not worth the squeeze, right? So we're going to just cut those out and start doing other things instead that are going to serve the community. But yeah, that's an example where I was like, surely everybody will love all these free workshops. And it's like, nobody's showing up to these. It
What
wasn't
a
that
waste
no one
of time.
cared. And like you RSVP to those things, I think, with the best intentions in your mind. And then the day comes and you're like, well, it's either attend an all hands meeting for the company that's paying my paycheck, or it's attend a free workshop on mom guilt. And it's like, there's no competition ever. People don't attend the workshops. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What would you say is how do you deal with that? What have you found, like, because I mean, again, you hit the nail on the head, right? The busiest niche down employees, working moms, right? They're doing double duty, sometimes triple duty,
Yeah.
depending on how many jobs they have and how many kids they have and all of the stuff. Teenagers versus little kids, like the two differences between being a teenager mom like myself, where it's sports and activities and all the things, and
Yeah.
and little kids have their own set of things. It's I can't even imagine. What would you say to everybody who's listening out there? Like, how can they make time for this community? Like, what are you doing that makes it so accessible and makes people, because it's popular. You've got a great community going on, and I'm curious to what are you saying to these people to make them actively engaged, like you were saying, like they're not engaging with workshops. What are they engaging with?
I think there's two things that are kind of like the secret ingredient to making this community as wonderful as it is. I think the first one is that we lead with love and support. It is no toxicity, none of that. It's not even that that isn't even tolerated, it's that that doesn't even exist in the community. And I think that when you show up as a newcomer in the community, you can get the vibe of the community right away, right? I think, Facebook groups, say what you want about them. I think they're fine, but I think there's a lot of toxicity that enters into those groups because the numbers get huge. There's no accountability. The admins don't kick people out. And so I think beyond the ninth, the point of it is working mothers supporting other working mothers. And that is kind of what we lead with. And then the second thing I'll say is that I always say to moms, we're here when you need us. We're here when you need us because mom life ebbs and flows, right? For a while you'll be going along thinking like, I've got this, I'm doing fine, like, and then something happens, you get the stomach flu in your household and you get knocked on your butt and you're like, this is the time that I need this community. It's 2 o'clock in the morning and I need to send a post in this community telling people that I'm struggling and I'm having a really hard time and I just need a little bit of love and support from women all over the world that I don't even know, because sometimes support from strangers feels more authentic than somebody that lives next door to you or your friend that you've called for the 50th time that week. It can
Yeah.
feel good to just say, I'm putting out what I need and I need that reciprocated. So I think those are kind of the two secret ingredients. And I've learned that I can't force moms to show up. I can't even force myself to show up for myself a lot of the time. And so I can't expect other moms to show up for workshops at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, but we will be there for you when you need us in the community, regardless of what time it is or what day of the week it is. And you can see that within the community. You can see moms coming in there and saying, I just got laid off from my job and I don't know what to do. And you can see the outpouring of support within the community. And that's really awesome to see.
I think that's awesome because it's so hard, like trying to find time for yourself, let alone time to try and interact with other humans that may be going through the same thing you're going
Yeah.
through. It's like there's not enough hours in the day, and I think we're also really hard on ourselves. At least I know I was for a long time being a working mom. I think I was my biggest critic, right? Like out of anybody. I was harder on myself than a lot of other situations or a lot of other people. And I feel like at least a lot of some of the other mom groups that I've joined, and I'm no longer a part of, and I think I didn't feel supported. Like the Facebook group thing is funny to me because there's so many out there. They're not, and they're not all bad, right? Like we're not saying that. Neither one of us are saying that, but the majority of them are pretty bad. Then you're not getting the support that you need. You're not, or at least it doesn't feel like you're getting supported when there's 85,000 people. And I mean, how are you supposed to even manage that effectively without an army of people? But
Well,
I,
I'll tell you my problem with Facebook groups if you want to hear the truth of
I,
it.
absolutely hate Facebook groups, so you go for it. I'm not a
My
fan.
my problem with Facebook groups is that if you are in a time where you need support, you then have to open up a social media platform that for many is a toxic platform to begin with.
Yep.
When I open up Facebook,
Got your
find
attention.
myself Right. I find myself going, that person decorated their house way better than me for Halloween. Okay, that's one thing I have to feel guilty about. Oh, this person is traveling more than I'm traveling. That's just another thing to feel guilty about. So if you want to get support from those groups, you have to go to a platform that for many is toxic just from the immediate instant that you open it. I wish I could delete Facebook forever for time and all eternity. But unfortunately, Facebook shackles you to it. Yes. For,
I mean,
if you want to run ads or if you want to like be active on Instagram or whatever, you have to actually also be active on Facebook to make all of those different wheels spin. And so that is why we are not on Facebook as a community. Because I
we're
don't
not
want
even.
people to have to log into Facebook I mean, Beyond the Ninth has a Facebook page, but Beyond the Ninth will never be a Facebook group because I
Yep.
don't want people to have to log into Facebook in order to get the support that they need. And it's
I
the
can
same
keep.
thing with Slack, honestly. Like Slack, I have 10,000 notifications all the time on Slack that
I
I
love
don't want to
that.
have. I
I
love
was.
Slack too. So I love it. It helps me, run my teams. It helps me work with people in that kind of setting. But I
Yeah.
don't want Slack to be my source of support when I need it again as a working mom.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we want to draw people into when they open up the Beyond the Ninth app. I want them to know, okay, this is my like safe supportive space. And when I open this up, this is what my experience is going to be. And it doesn't come with all of the other noise from Facebook and Slack and all of these other platforms.
I would love to
So
know if you're willing to share what is it, your own custom app, or what did you build Beyond the Nights on? What's the platform that you're
it's
using?
built on the Circle platform.
It is. Okay. That's
Yeah.
what I thought. And I think I asked you that when we were LinkedIn chatting, but I don't I couldn't remember if we had that conversation or not.
Yeah.
Circle is awesome. Love Circle. I'm a huge Exit 5 fan too with Dave Gerhardt. And
Yeah.
so you built on Circle too. So how can I ask, can you talk about Circle for a minute? How do you like it as a platform? Do you feel like they are a supportive platform from an operations standpoint to you as being like a single CEO and having a smaller team? Are they pretty supportive?
Would say it's an incredibly robust platform. I started out on School actually, and within a week of opening the community, I migrated off of School and over to Circle. It was just, I didn't feel like School was going to be able to grow with me. I didn't like the way that it was
No.
structured. I didn't like the way that the paywall, the different paywall options, they just didn't
No,
have all of those things. Yeah.
pretty awful.
So migrating over to Circle was definitely a learning curve, but I mean there are so many things that you can do in the Circle platform. So one of my favorite things is that you can actually host your live events right there in the Circle community. And so all of the workshops and all the live virtual events that we do, we host directly within the Circle community. It records them automatically and then we can edit the recording after the fact. They just came out with email automation, which is incredible. That's something, it's like an add-on package. So we used to, you're going to love this, but we used to do a thing where if you sign up for Circle, you get or if you sign up for Beyond the Night through the Circle platform, you get kicked over to Zapier, which then tags you and sends you over to MailChimp so that you could get our weekly newsletter and then start kind of like the automation sequence within MailChimp. But MailChimp is super expensive and so is Zapier. And so it's amazing that I can actually now move all of my email automation over to Circle and get rid of two of those platforms. And frankly,
Hear
kind
that,
of get rid of
everybody?
yeah,
Zapier is expensive. I keep telling people this. I have
yeah,
a lot of
Zapier is
relationships.
expensive, MailChimp is expensive, and it's so many things to like
Yep.
troubleshoot when something isn't working. So I'm really happy that Circle opened that up. Because it used to be that if you wanted to message your members on Circle, you had to just send them like a message instead of an email. So that's an amazing update. But yeah, I'm super happy with the Circle platform. I would say for anybody who's like thinking about using it, I think Mighty Networks is pretty comparable, but besides those
Pretty
two,
awesome.
yeah. And I've never used Mighty Networks. I kind of decided it was actually the Exit 5 folks that sort of, I mean, not them personally, but kind of seeing what they had built on it. So hopefully in the future, there will actually be a customized app on the Circle platform that is just for Beyond the Ninth. But, we're a little ways away from that.
Yeah, we're working on that too. It's a pretty fantastic app. I like it. We've chosen to go another route, which I won't talk about right now, but soon enough, we're white labeling and customizing all of our own stuff. But
Very
it's
cool.
school is kind of a joke. I shouldn't say that,
Yeah.
but it's not as user friendly as we had hoped. So
Yeah. I mean, it seemed just more in its infancy than Circle. And, maybe they'll get there. But I also think for a lot of communities, they can benefit from school if they're just like, I just want something super simple and super straightforward. Yeah. And they don't need all the different, like, paywalls and subspaces and all of that. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, this has been really, really exciting. We're kind of at time, but I'm really excited that you were able to come on and tell us all about it, guys. All of you working moms out there, this group is no joke, and Kendra is awesome. So please go and find her on LinkedIn, and I'm going to let her tell you where to find herself too. And remember, technology is only good when it works. Kendra, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you and the best way to get more information about Beyond the Night?
Yes, I am very active on LinkedIn. My name is Kendra Pennington. Happy to have you follow my journey there. And then if you would like to learn more about Beyond the Ninth, it is Beyond the Ninth with the number 9.com. So beyondtheninth.com. The community is free. We've got tons of amazing resources in there and would love to have you.
And we will drop all of that information in the show notes below too. So you'll have direct links to Kendra's LinkedIn page and the Beyond the Ninth community. And I highly suggest you go check it out. And that is all from us for today. And we will see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.